The storm didn't just fall from the sky, it crashed, roared, and tore through the alleyways of Willow Creek like it was trying to wash away everything in its path. Water spilled over gutters, splashed through cracks in the sidewalk, and soaked the cardboard box that Thomas called home. His coat, frayed and too thin for the night air, clung to his ribs like a damp rag. He hadn't eaten in 2 days, his stomach gnawed at itself like a caged animal. Most people couldn't imagine the kind of hunger that whispered through every bone, the kind that made sleeping impossible, the kind that turned even a bruised apple into a treasure. That night, as the thunder cracked above, Thomas found shelter beneath a rusted metal awning behind a shuttered diner. He pulled out a half sandwich he'd managed to get earlier that day. It was wrapped in napkins, soggy now, but it was food and it was his. But just as he was about to take the first bite, he heard it, a soft whimper. He turned. There, standing a few feet away in the shadows, was a dog. Matted fur. Limping. Eyes wide with fear and hunger. It didn't bark. It didn't growl. It just waited. Silent. Watching. And in that moment, something inside Thomas moved, not just pity, not charity, but a deep, painful understanding. They were the same. Abandoned. Unseen. Fighting to survive. So, with hands trembling from hunger and cold, Thomas knelt, unwrapped the sandwich, and gently slid half of it across the wet concrete. The dog flinched, sniffed, then crept forward and took it with trembling jaws. As the animal ate, Thomas sat beside it, chewing slowly, the warmth of companionship, however brief, settling around them like a fragile blanket. If you believe in kindness, second chances, or the loyalty of animals, please like this video, share it, subscribe to our channel Pawsitive Tales, and drop a comment below. Your support helps us keep telling these stories that show the power of love in even the darkest places. That was the beginning. Thomas didn't expect to see the dog again. He assumed it would vanish like most things in his life had. But the next morning, when the rain had cleared and the air hung damp with yesterday's sorrow, the dog was there, curled up beside him, tail thumping slowly, watching the sun rise between the cracks in the buildings. But what stunned Thomas was what lay beside the dog. A fast food bag. Clean. Inside, a wrapped breakfast sandwich and a bottle of water. Fresh. Not from the trash. He looked around in disbelief. Did someone drop it? Did the dog take it? That night, it happened again. This time, a folded towel. Then socks. Then a pair of gloves. One item at a time. Every evening, just after dusk, the dog would disappear into the dark. And every morning, it would return, bringing something new. Something useful. Something meant for Thomas. After a few days, Thomas followed him. Slowly. Carefully. The dog moved with purpose. Through alleys, under fences, across quiet backyards. Eventually, it stopped outside a white house with peeling blue shutters. Through a back window, a soft glow flickered from the kitchen. Then, Thomas saw her. A little girl, no older than 8. Blonde ponytail. Pajamas covered in stars. She opened a sliding door and placed a plastic container filled with food onto the porch. She whispered something, like a prayer or a secret. The dog trotted forward, grabbed the container, and turned to go. As he passed through the bushes, he turned and looked directly at Thomas as if to say, "You see now?" Thomas stood frozen. He couldn't bring himself to step closer. He didn't want to frighten her. He didn't want to explain why he was following a dog. But the next night, he returned. And the next. And then, she saw him. He hadn't realized how close he'd gotten. When the girl turned and spotted him near the fence line, he panicked. He raised his hands. Tried to back away. But to his surprise, she didn't scream. Didn't run. She walked forward slowly. "My name's Ellie," she said. "Shadow's been bringing you stuff." I told him to. And just like that, everything changed. Over the next few weeks, Thomas and Ellie began speaking more often, from opposite sides of the fence at first. She told him how Shadow had limped into her yard one night, wounded and starving. Her parents wouldn't let her keep him, but they didn't stop her from feeding him. Shadow healed. Gained strength. Then one day, he stopped staying overnight. That's when Ellie followed him and saw where he went. Thomas couldn't believe it. This little girl, no older than his niece from years ago, had been quietly saving his life with the help of a dog no one claimed. Word eventually reached Ellie's mom. Then a neighbor. Then a local reporter who stumbled across the story at a town meeting. A week later, the front page of the Willow Creek Chronicle carried a photo of Thomas, sitting on the bench with Shadow curled at his feet, and the headline: "The dog who delivered kindness, a girl, a stray, and a life changed forever." People began to see Thomas not as a statistic, not as a problem, but as a man. A person. A neighbor. The diner owner recognized him from the alley. Invited him in. Offered a hot meal. Then a job washing dishes. A retired social worker helped him get a state ID. The town's church arranged shelter. A school counselor started a community donation box for warm clothes. People brought more than food, they brought dignity. Respect. Humanity. Thomas worked hard. Showed up every day. Cleaned more than was asked. Quiet, kind, and grateful. Shadow became a local legend. He waited for Thomas outside the diner every evening, wagging his tail, accepting pets from regulars and tourists alike. Children would leave notes tied to his collar. "Thank you, Shadow. You helped save someone. You're our town hero." Over time, Thomas saved enough to rent a small room above a bakery. It wasn't much, but to him, it was everything. A door that locked. A bed. A lamp. A place where Shadow had his own blanket in the corner. They were no longer invisible. No longer hungry. No longer alone. And Ellie? She became like family. Every Friday night, she'd visit Thomas and Shadow with her parents. They'd share stories. Play games. Laugh. Ellie even wrote a children's book about Shadow's journey, illustrated with crayon drawings and sticky notes. It was published locally, with all proceeds going to the town's animal rescue fund. The town now celebrates Shadow's Night every spring, a festival where neighbors donate supplies for shelters, adopt rescue animals, and gather for candlelit storytelling. At the center of it all stands a small bronze statue in the park, a man sitting on a bench, offering half a sandwich to a dog. It doesn't say Thomas's name. Or Ellie's. Or even Shadow's. It simply says, "One act of kindness can change everything." If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Every view, every comment, every act of engagement helps us keep sharing true, beautiful stories of second chances and the bonds that heal. Special request, tell us in the comments, if you had one last meal, would you share it with a stray dog? Why or why not? Your voice might inspire someone who needs a reason to believe in kindness again.